Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show to Be with Mike G, the show of life, the show of travel, the show of biking, being healthy, and drinking all things agave. Just a few weeks back, I had a tasting at the house. You know, I've had these kind of series of tastings over the past couple of years with friends of mine, and no better way to drink mezcal, right, than just be at home and hang out with some great people. And I talk about the story of how I met Cameron Holck from Fidencio Spirits, but we had a great night after this conversation. Lots of mezcal shared, lots of great distillates shared. And it's a pleasure getting to talk to someone who seems older, doesn't look older, but seems older, wiser, more mature, and all of that. So I can't wait to see what Cameron does with his career. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this great chat with Cameron Holck.
Honestly, I'm just like, I was telling Leslie, my partner, yesterday when I told her that I was doing this with you. I'm like, is it weird that I feel like I've made it because I'm going to be on a podcast with Mike G? You know, like, to me, it's like, it's an honor to be here, you know? I never, Thanks. Just because, you know, this is, I'm getting to the point where people, want to hear my story a little bit, and I'm starting to have a story to tell. Which hasn't been something that I've been like aiming for or seeking to have. I've just been really like chasing my own passions as much as I possibly could.
Right.
And now I get to talk about it a little bit more.
It's weird, right?
Because I spend most of my time listening.
Yeah, I think we both do. I think that I wouldn't say it's a strategy, but you learn the most when you listen, yeah?
Yeah.
It's like, for me, I always tell people it's like 80-20. 80 you, 20 me.
Yeah.
And that's why I fucking hate Joe Rogan. You listen? And this is not for this. I'm not politicizing this. I promise. But do you listen to him at all?
No, but I listened to a really long podcast about him and how about the whole blow up that he had a couple months ago or something. So like, that's the most I know about him, which was a lot of information.
It's a lot, but you know, it's funny. It's like they're like, well, I love his show. I'm like, I actually don't give a shit about the show. He's just not a good interviewer. So, I won't listen. It's a real stupid reason to get upset about it. But I'm just not going to listen to him. Anyway, but so your story, it's a very vast one. But I want to give listeners kind of like a backdrop to something that they wouldn't know otherwise. Because no interview will ever ask you this. Because no other interviewer went driving out to Blanco, Texas when it was about 25 fucking degrees to harvest sotol, right? And so I remember we did that harvest together, which it eventually became beautiful, but getting out there and it was so windy and cold and shit.
It was a cold, windy day, man.
But I saw you bust your ass to just get the work done. And I think it was either that evening or a day after I talked to Arik, who's, I guess, your boss, not that he would ever say that. And I'm like, you made the right fucking decision, man. Because you got a guy who's going to really understand it, has done it, and will work hard, you know? And so I ask you that, or I mention that because is this something that runs in the family? Like good, hard work ethic?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, you know, I've learned good work ethic from both sides of my family, but as far in the sense of like hard physical labor work ethic, my dad's side of the family, we've got about 250 acres out near Bastrop, and it's never been like, you know, this big thing, but we would go out as kids, and then my dad, he continues to manage it just to keep it up and don't let it get overtaken by mesquite trees and stuff. So we go out and cut trees and spray mesquite trees and, you know, just take care of stuff every once in a while. And I'm by no means like a laborer, you know, you can, my hands are not calloused, right. You know, but when it comes to a day of it, you know, I can get a chainsaw or I can get a koa or whatever, and I'm going to put every bit of it that I have into it, because why else would I be out there, you know?
Right.
So like, yeah, thank you for acknowledging that, because like I told you, my body hurt for days, man.
Yeah, I love it.
But
I
it
love
was so worth it. And then I got to taste the spirit that you made from those plants that we harvested, and it was just pure magic. I could feel the energy coming back into me those many months later.
It's weird because you and this is always a line that I want to put, and not in the sand, but the way that I understand people. There are those who criticize and just talk shit, and there's those who create. And the thing is that for y'all to come out and kind of support me in that, I knew it'd be worth it in that respect, right? Because the thing about any spirit and all the stuff that's in your portfolio, the rumbes, orahin raíz, and all of it, and like rancho tepo, it takes you to a place, and unless you've been to the place, it's not exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find that a really big piece of it. But actually, why I asked you kind of about the manual labor part, you're in the industry. Obviously, you've been doing this for a long time. Do you think that, and I wouldn't say it's because of age or any millennial, not any of that, but do you see the willingness to do actual hard work, hard labor, that people are less and less inclined to do it these days?
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know, because I feel like I definitely know people that are less inclined to do it.
Yeah.
But I've also met plenty of people that work their butts off to accomplish whatever goal they're trying to have. So I think maybe it's been a little bit more of a shift in demographics. And I think definitely over the last couple of years, some of us have gotten, myself included, a little bit softer because of COVID here and there. Yep. But no, I think people still want to get out there and do stuff. I think people still want to go out and work. And maybe it's just that we tend to surround ourselves with those people. Mm-hmm. I think like when we find somebody that doesn't give a shit, we tend to stray away from them. Yeah. So I think continuing to surround yourself by people that care and want, and you want, like-minded people, right?
Mm-hmm. It lifts you up too.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I can do it. I'm like, no, you can do it. Yeah. You think? You think I can do it? All right. Well, then we'll get at it. It's funny too. It's just as an aside, I was typing on the computer earlier. I was in a meeting and I look at my hand because I kind of take pride in some of the scars I've got from agave and sotol. And
yeah, stuff. You should, man.
And I got this massive scar. Like my finger didn't grow back right. Anyway,
that looks nasty.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. Right? But I found an espina in my wrist this morning.
No kidding.
Because I went chopping a quiote down with this friend of mine, and that's how you know you're willing to put the work in. Anyway. Yeah. But I do wonder where the shift occurs, because your LinkedIn intro about yourself is pretty telling, man. It's pretty good because
I haven't read that thing in at least a year.
Much of it really kind of fills in the narrative in a pretty clean way. You talk about the van life and stuff in there, and I'm like, this is like a really nice, transparent bio for someone to write about themselves, or maybe Leslie. I don't know. But you're studying. You grew up here though, around these parts.
I grew up in Pflugerville until I was 18, and I'm out here for the week. From Louisiana, I live in Lafayette now, and so I'm out here for the week, and I'm staying with my mom and stepdad up in Pflugerville, and I just had lunch with my dad today off of 51st Street, and so. This is my hometown in many ways, even though I left more than 10 years ago.
Because you're what, 30 now?
I'm 29.
Oh shit, not even 30 yet.
Yeah.
We're making big waves for some young kid.
Oh, just ripples, brother. Just ripples.
Well, so what kind of shit were you getting into? Because to me, you're so smart and like so connected and present. Were you a math kid? Were you getting into trouble? Like, where was your brain at with school?
I never really got into much trouble. Maybe I just wasn't, or I was good at not getting caught, maybe, but I didn't cause too much trouble either. And so I think, there was a big shift, after high school. So I took a gap year and I flew to South America, at the end of the summer when all my friends were going to college. I flew to South America with a bike and planned this bicycle tour from Lima, Peru, through the mountains, through Bolivia, through Chile. And I started it by myself, in this big city in a country that I really spoke very little of the language. And it was really freaking hard, man. Like, I had no idea how hard it would be physically being up that high in the mountains on a bike all the time. But more importantly, I vastly underestimated how lonely I would have been, or how lonely I would be. And that proved to be the hardest thing for sure. Like, I thought I was, as many people do when you're 18, you think you're invincible. And in many ways, I proved that I was, because I had a lot of hardships. But what I learned is, I guess, like, part of that humble quality of me started to set in then. So after just a few weeks, I was getting my butt kicked, and I decided to send the bike home, buy a backpack, start backpacking, take buses, like, continue this adventure. So I did that, and that was hard in itself. I sent my Raleigh Sojourn touring bike home in a big box with about 1 million Peru postage stamps on it, and it ended up in Texas like 6 weeks later. I can't believe it actually made it.
That's great.
And then started backpacking, and then that was pretty good. But then I got my day pack stolen, had my passport in it, had my money. I had one credit card in my other pack, and so I go back to Lima for like a third time now, and I'm just like completely demolished. And this is about a month in. Like, a lot has happened in 4
Where did it get stolen? Your pack?
Ayacucho, outside of this big canyon that you're supposed to go see the flying condors and stuff. Wow. So I was at a bus stop, and they just totally, or I was at a restaurant outside a bus stop, and they just totally tricked me. Like, they targeted me. The people in the restaurant, they sat me in a really vulnerable spot, and before I even had turned around, my pack was gone in a taxi. Like, heard the wheels squeal and all that. So I learned a lot in that moment, for sure.
That's big, man.
But yeah, and then, I basically, I called my parents, and I was like in tears, like, the hell am I supposed to do now? And as much as they wanted to tell me to come home, they said, wait it out for a few days, see how you feel, get your passport, figure it out. And I did that. And then I met some guys. I ended up traveling with them for 3 more months.
Wow.
And it was so, like, I tend to kind of split my life up into sections here and there, but that's definitely one of the most defining sections of my life. That single month in Peru when I was 18, it really changed my life and set a direction for who I was going to be as a person in certain ways. And I was really, really grateful for it.
Man, that's fascinating. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And when you said lonely, because people can scoff at this shit, but I'll say the thing in a second. But were you dating someone when you went out there?
Not really. We,
Okay.
Like, high school sweetheart kind of thing. Like, had mostly decided to go separate ways.
Yeah.
But,
So then it was truly a clean break on your own.
yeah, I think so. Like, I think it was probably a little blurry for me. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, definitely a little blurry. But yeah, but there's that one aspect of leaving all your friends and your family and being out on yourself, and then starting to run into people that you get to know a little bit, but that's in Spanish usually. And then once I was like up in the mountains and it was more like, indigenous style dialects, I got nothing, and then I was truly alone, and I was looked at like a stranger, and I wasn't comfortable with relating to people in uncomfortable situations yet. So I was truly by myself for the first time ever.
Man, that's so fascinating to me. So I don't know that I've ever been in that. The closest is in China, maybe.
Yeah.
Where I could try to speak Chinese. It's just hard, difficult, but not like that. Never felt alone like that.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel alone? There any, not in the same way necessarily, but are there moments in your life still where you have those places of loneliness? And I know you got a great partner, a great job, and all that, but still, sometimes, for instance, if I feel misunderstood, very, very lonely place.
Yeah.
Does that ever come up still as you're growing and learning about yourself?
Not so much, actually. It's there's a little bit of that when you're on the road and you're meeting 1 million people in a day, and you just feel like you don't get to know anybody. And I feel like we both get this. Like, we're people that want to sit down and know someone,
Yeah.
And so
sure.
when you don't get that satisfaction out of a conversation, that can be a little lonely. But that's temporary. And honestly, these days I usually choose to go out and be alone as recovery. So like, the recharging of I guess an extrovert versus an introvert, that's something that I've talked about with people a lot, because I don't really know which side I truly lie on, but I am recharged when I'm by myself. So like
Same.
every once in a while, Leslie will be like, yeah, you go out on a bike ride, like if I can get a 3-hour mountain bike ride in once a week, that's enough recharge for me.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the the cringeworthy thing I was gonna say, or cringe rather. I really think, and this, oh God, I don't care. All right. I think Aquariuses do this. I think we're isolating. We're both extroverts and introverts.
Yeah.
Extroverts when we want, but the only way that we want is after we've had the time.
You're totally right, man.
You know
You're
what I
totally
mean?
right.
And I find that so much in my Aquarius friends, honestly, because I won't get into astrology because it's stupid, but I've been married and been with women that all have a similar energy, and they just need attention. Like all of it is they just need attention like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, I don't want that. Right? Like, but that's the thing. And so, to the point is like Leslie's an Aquarius too.
Yeah.
So you all have
our
like
birthdays are 4 days apart.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So you have, does it feel like you all have a deeper understanding of each other just because you're the same?
I think so, but it can also be like we're both cats. We always say that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So like usually yes, and when we do get to that understanding, it totally clicks into place and we fucking get it.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, we're both like, no, you be nice first. I
believe it's called a stalemate.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we're good at that. But when we get over that stalemate, we understand each other really, really well.
Yeah.
And and we both do recharge when we have our solo time, or maybe just time with each other outside of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So but you're right. It's really interesting, and you're one of the first people to really point out the similarities between Aquarii.
Mm-hmm.
And it like really makes sense for me because people have like, this sign and that sign, they're all the same. But some of the things that you've pointed out, and specifically that thing that you just said, like it's really on the nose, and you're really in tune with that.
Yeah, and I wish I knew it earlier, honestly, because it sounds like that piece for you and Leslie is connective, or when you want it to be disconnective intentionally,
mm-hmm.
right? Versus just not understanding, because it's in a way it's like kind of a boundary.
Yeah.
Right? I kind of need to just have 4 hours by myself to do whatever the fuck I want, which is probably nothing. Oh, okay, cool. Most people don't understand that, So anyway, that's one of those things. And also, I think you have a very deep interest in people and in the world. Yeah?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, so you were talking about my LinkedIn bio. I recently, we're about to launch the Fidencio Spirits website, and it's really cool. Leslie got to build it for us, and it's looking amazing.
Yeah, it looks great.
And I wrote my bio for that just about 2 weeks ago, if not less. And I remember the last time I wrote a bio for a job website, and it was about 5 years ago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking back on that, and this bio is just completely different, and it's so, I barely talk about where I've been, and now I'm talking more about what I've really come to cherish in this world. And it's really, what we're doing right now, sitting down, hanging out with people, sharing a mezcal, like making people laugh, and to get even a little bit more sappy. I love to eat. I love to eat good food. Yeah. Grew up around good food. But there's been multiple moments recently where I've had some of the best food in a year or something, and it's like, yeah, this is good. And then I go home and I'm with Leslie and the family or whatever it may be, and we have like a good meal, and it's like, God, this food is fucking delicious.
Mm-hmm.
And I find like that thing that people talk about that, good food or good drink or whatever is best with when you share it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've truly felt that over the last like 6-8 months or something. And so I feel more grounded than I ever have because of those things and realizing those things and being more in touch with those things. And I'm really grateful for where I am now with my relationship, with my job, with so many things. And I'm almost surprised to be having this realization. It's when you come to some sort of a epiphany like that of like, oh yeah, this is what I've been busting ass for. It wasn't to be brand ambassador. It was to be happy and to share stories from other people,
It's so weird how it sounds simple.
Yeah.
But it's not simple.
It's not.
It takes a long time to get to a place where you realize that, and I mentioned this the other day, interviewed Ansley Cole. We'll talk about him. But brilliant guy, 81 years old now, has been in the mezcal industry just as long as Ron. But I realized that we're always looking out into the horizon to see where that destination is, and that's where we point the ship.
Mm-hmm.
But what we fail to realize is it's not actually about the destination. It's about the vendors that pop up, the flowers around you, all the stuff that
Yeah.
you're exposed to along that journey. And so I think I find it profoundly amazing that you're already aware of that. You know how long it takes fucking people to
Well, now I just got to work on it, Now I just yeah.
I think it's paying it forward maybe as you get older, maybe some of the next steps for it,
Yeah.
That gratitude. All right, so let's go.
Gratitude.
Yeah, same, man. Same. So I'm trying to connect the dots. Obviously, you get this. I can tell you're a hospitable person. Like, you'd be good behind the bar. I think we both can. If anybody listening could be like, oh, I like this motherfucker, right? Likability's key, right? But I do wonder why you chose to study, was it environmental engineering?
Environmental engineering, yeah. So, I was always good at school. I did gravitate more towards the maths and the sciences and things like that. And, I graduated in like top couple percent of my class at Pflugerville High School. And I applied to all these really good schools, and I ended up not getting into any of them. Yeah, and like something, it was probably my own fault, but even like UT didn't let me in, even though I would have been automatically accepted because they didn't get my SAT scores. So probably on me. I'm gonna say it was something else.
Sure was.
Sure was.
How dare you,
so,
UT?
Colorado School of Mines, great engineering school in Golden, Colorado. They emailed me a free application one day, and they accepted me. And I went and visited, loved it, and I was able to push my acceptance off a year, and that's when I took the gap year.
Oh, right.
So I knew that I wanted to do engineering, and by new, I was a high schooler with an idea, and I was like, this seems like a good idea. And my friends were doing engineering. So environmental sounded like the way to do something good in the engineering world. I didn't want to be petroleum. That sounded bad to me, even though it doesn't have to be. Mechanical was very close because I always worked on cars in high school and was in auto shop, auto tech, stuff like that. But environmental was like that has a nice ring to it. I think I could do something good with that.
Yeah.
And it was a great education. It really was. I loved Golden, and I still go back to Golden a lot.
Where's Golden?
It's on the west side of Denver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you're driving like I-70 up into the mountains, it's right as you start to go uphill. If you look north past Red Rocks, it's right there.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Is that where Coors is from?
Yeah. So I lived like walking distance from the Coors Brewery for a couple years. You could smell it every day? Yeah, it was great.
Fresh bread and all that shit.
Yeah. So yeah, I studied environmental engineering, graduated, pretty good grades, loved it. And I was completely burnt out by the end and never wanted to do it again.
The topic itself.
Yeah. Like, I had a really cool senior design project that ended up really kind of screwing us over.
Okay.
They basically like, we found out, we thought we were doing something that was actually contributing to this project. It was mine reclamation in Suriname.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah. It sounded really cool.
What kind of mine, mind you?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was basically just completely ravaged land. And it was like, hey, how do we fix this? How do we clean it up? And I worked on it for a year, and when you only have 4 years in college working on this one project for a year, it's a big deal. Okay. And then we found out right near the end that they had actually completed the project 3 years ago. And it was this total just like
bait and switch.
Yeah. And so it was bullshit, and I was tired of it. And I was bartending by then and loving that. I was like, this is what I should do. And so I hung out for a while, and decided to pursue bartending rather than engineering. And by that I mean hospitality, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Which luckily, being in the brand side of it is hospitality too. I find all the peripheral stuff, like making. People are like, are you industry? I'm like, fuck. You know what? I am industry, right? Because I'm like on all these different sides of it.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of facets to it.
Did you? You might already known this, but do you like what I call servitude? Now, this is not in a weird James Spader secretary kind of way. Right? Just like behind the bar. Interacting with people, is that something that you quite enjoy?
Oh yeah, for sure. I miss it too. I really loved that aspect of it, and it's what drew me into this, the bar family that people can have, and being able to just do something for other people. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I feel that. It
again, like going back, I think people will. It's very very discernible how warm you are, because. Some people I interview, they're great. Everybody's for the most part been pretty.
No, good. You're all awesome if you're listening.
You know who I'm talking about? Those sons of bitches that were terrible. Nah, but like you can't fake earnesty. You can't fake transparency and stuff. And I think that this is probably one of the attribute about you that probably afforded you a lot of experiences, you know. And so Golden, Colorado, I get it. It's west of Denver. I kind of get the vibe. I've been out there a bunch of times to Denver, that is. But Oregon makes sense. But why Oregon next?
Okay, so good question.
It was a girl, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I was single and bartending at the Golden Moon Speakeasy. Great cocktail bar. Really taught, the craft to me. It was the first bar that I worked in. It was a left-handed well, so I learned to bartend like mostly left-handed, which was awesome. So now, I can still use both hands equally. And we had like 50 or 60 cocktails with 13 spirits. And I was by no means a mastermind behind that, but I absorbed it all. And so I had this really big creative itch, but Golden has this way of sucking you in that you never want to leave. And I saw myself like a few months after graduating, like, I could stay here forever. But I looked down, I kind of had that thought at the bar one day, and I looked down and I saw this really nice guy. His name's Wayne. He's kind of a Golden staple, and he's been there his whole life. I'm like, but I don't want to be like that, at least not yet, And so I got the itch, I guess, is what you would say.
Yeah.
So I kiteboard as well. I love the outdoors. That's a huge part of my life is mountains and kiteboarding, mountain biking, things like that.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to move to Hood River, Oregon, which is an hour east of Portland. It's kiteboarding mecca, especially in the summertime. Mount Hood's right there. You can ski.
Beautiful mountain.
So I was going to go there, pick up a bartending job, and live a happy little life. And in between moving from Denver there is when I spent a bunch of time down in Mexico. And that's when I started Chase Raicilla.
Wait, so back then, because you couldn't have been more than what, like, let me do the math, 22, 23?
Yeah, something like that. I think 23.
How do you even know to chase Raicilla?
Right. So,
not a common word that people know,
So Star Bar in Denver.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, great bar. I was just there the other day with Arik for
nice.
A quick drink. I was in one day and they were like, "You gotta try this shit." They kind of knew me. I had hooked one of the guys up with some fireworks at some point. It was really weird thing. I'm not really that into fireworks. Anyway, but yeah, I tasted, I think it was Costa and either Volcanis or Tigre. And, it was the craziest shit I'd ever tried. I still see that look on people's face all the time when I taste them on this stuff. And it's one of my favorite things about this job is seeing their eyes light up.
Yeah.
And I totally had that moment. And, I basically moved into my 77 VW van for 6-7 weeks and drove to Baja because there's a kiteboarding spot down there.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of my life kind of centers around chasing wind.
That's good. Better than chasing women, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Luckily, all I have to do now is chase wind. And so, yeah, I was down in La Ventana, which is a couple hours north of Cabo, kiteboarding, and I found La Venenosa's Facebook page, said, "Hey, by the way, where can I find some product? Like, what's going on? Can I come visit? You know?" And mind you, like, I was 1 year into the industry, so like I didn't know that like Fortaleza trip existed,
right.
or like people hook you up and visiting places and taking care of you and providing their own hospitality. But I got a message back and was like, he saw a picture of my van with a mountain bike on top, and he said, "Hey, yeah, if you can take the ferry over, meet me in Guadalajara in 3 days, and I'll take you to Mascota and we'll go mountain biking and all this stuff."
Was it Esteban?
It was Esteban.
Oh, man.
So I'm like, oh shit, okay, here's what I'm doing. So I get on a ferry, like a 14-hour ferry in my bus, get over there, drive into Guadalajara, meet up with him, and he brings me in and teaches me about Raicilla, and I'm like taking notes as we're driving over speed bumps and getting some pulque along the side of the road, and we go to Mascota and we ride bikes and drink Raicilla together, and like the rest is history, Like I was obsessed from that point on. I was obsessed when I tried it the first time, but
there's something about him too. I've had the pleasure of spending time with him and Guadalajara and stuff, and he's a special dude.
He is a special dude,
and I like it because he's not a traditionalist. I completely believe that whatever the producer thinks is best is best. There is no single way to make it this. To give you just an example, I post beyond getting shit for making Sotol or whatever the fuck you want to call it in Texas, but I posted a picture of the Fermat, and so he trolls me, and we know each other, right? Like,
yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, plastic's horrible," and I'm like, because it's like a 55-gallon plastic. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, I'm just kidding. Some of the best stuff I've had. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he's that kind of guy where he's so open to all the, and that's honestly that culture of how open he is translates to every one of the brands y'all have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in Fidencio Spirits, and it translated. It's like RX got that beautiful openness as well. You know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you make it to Hood River. Is this a river?
I ended up moving to Portland because that's where all the jobs are.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, lived there for a few years. It was great. Ended up meeting Leslie at Tales of the Cocktail, like my first or second year up there.
But you were in town for it. You didn't live there.
Right.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
she lived in New Orleans, and she ended up moving up, and we lived in Portland for a few years together.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So we lived there for like 3.5 years together.
Mhm.
Yeah, she really, I commend her still for doing that. We still make jokes of that bad idea she made about 5 years ago. Yeah, we met 5 years ago. This Tales of the Cocktail coming up next week.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a good chunk of time.
Yeah, and so I ran a small bar, worked at Urban Farmer up there, which was a steakhouse. Still don't know anything about steak. And then I started working for a small brokerage called Strongwater Beverages.
Yeah,
with
Four Roses, right?
Yeah, Four Roses was our main brand. They are no longer with them, but I introduced RX portfolio, Fidencio Spirits, at least like Esteban's portion of it, because that's what I knew, and we ended up absorbing them in near the end. Which was really cool.
That's so cool.
Before I was doing this, I brought them in, which was great. And yeah, Portland was awesome, man. We loved it up there, but the winters sucked.
Yeah.
And when COVID happened, we were actually going to move to Merida in the Yucatan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But because of COVID, we decided, nope, let's scrap that idea. And instead we bought a 4 Transit van, built it out, lived in that for a year. And then,
because we've talked about this, and you talked about your proclivities towards auto repair, which is sure should have very, very easy, or rather a convenient thing to have when you're doing that, right? But did you set on the road, which was good, but did you know you were going to end up back in Texas?
You mean after when we moved out of Portland?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my parents are great. They've got this shed that we cleaned up in an alleyway. So we actually lived there for about 4 months and built the van out. So that was really cool. So it's 60-hour work weeks, like nonstop committed.
Mm-hmm.
I went a little bit nuts, like everybody was like, you should take a break. I'm like, but we gotta go January 14th or something like that, But yeah, so I didn't really see that. It was all kind of a spur of the moment idea that happened from a trip backing up during COVID. Leslie and I took a trip in my 77 VW down to Texas and back, which was awesome. But that damn thing broke down so many freaking times on that trip. Yeah. Like even 20 miles from home, the clutch cable broke and stuff like that. It's just like not. So literally 3 days after we got home, we were at the Ford dealership putting a deposit down on a new van, and I sold that VW. Yeah. I still have a tattoo of the thing. Like I love that van, and it's getting a new life from somebody now, which is really beautiful.
That's so great.
But yeah, so we ended up in Texas unexpectedly, sort of. And then moved into this van and traveled for like 11 months straight. And it was just absolutely wonderful.
You know how when you were doing your hiking and your backpacking through Peru, right? Yeah, or through South America, you mentioned things that you kind of learned, right? Seems a very formative experience. Mm-hmm. How, were there any big personal growth or loss or any of it that you learned while you were traveling in a van with your partner? Absolutely.
That was... We still say that if we could survive that together, we can survive anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
what's the biggest challenge there? I mean, I can assume, but I don't want to.
Yeah. There's a few. I think, going back to saying, we can both be cats. When you're both cats in a small space, that can kind of compound on itself. Mm-hmm. And when you let that go for a couple of days, it feels suffocating. And you don't really realize it until you start talking about it, And it happened to us a few times, but we also worked through those times, and we worked through some really challenging moments that were truly just the result of being around the same person hours and hours and hours nonstop with zero relief. Because, we were outside, we were doing things, but like specifically when the weather's cold, you can't spend much time outside. You're in that van and you're next to each other and you might not have anything to talk about, and that might be frustrating. Or you might just be on edge that day for no particular reason. And it's just, managing your own emotions
Mm-hmm.
and taking care of the other person in those moments is really what we learned. And so we learned a lot about how to take care of each other, I suppose, and how to talk to each other and how to realize when we do need to talk or something like that. And so, yeah, we've definitely learned a lot that, and we're challenged a lot that gave us, I think, a lot of confidence in ourselves moving forward.
That's amazing. Because I look at that, because that's, if during shutdown you had a partner, right, which I did, was living with Leslie, and I look back, and the reason I ask you this is because I hadn't really said this before, but like I could have done better. I could have been a better partner. I could have been, and this it's not therapy or anything, but I think that there were things that we all could have learned. That we did absolutely learn about ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and other things that could have been missed opportunities.
Yeah.
I think I was a little too busy trying to bring others together versus the person that's like right next to me.
Yeah.
And that's, if that may be the most poignant thing I've said in 7 years about on the show. But anyway.
Well, so what are you going to take away from that, I suppose?
Well, there's two ways to look at it, I suppose, right? You take away and say, I'm willing to give, and I say give up, which has a negative connotation. I don't mean it that way. Maybe budget time.
Mm-hmm.
Like either I better budget time for someone because I'm doing all the things, right? Or I realize that what are the feasible and the confines of my schedule or my creative process or bringing people together, all of the projects, that just allows me a certain amount of time. And that I can only really, this doesn't mean I'm like off on call or like you can't call me or whatever. It's not about that. But that for me to give you present, unadulterated time, it's maybe less than what you've had with other people in other relationships. I think maybe that's the thing. And I've never first time I've ever articulated this out loud. But that's the thing, right? Like shutdown really encouraged all of us to figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure what it was for everybody, but something, And I'm glad to hear because, I won't say some things that I know that we were talking about in the kitchen, but it brought you closer together. And to me, that is the greatest product of what was a hardship in a sense, right?
Yep. And I do want to be clear, we can all always do better, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. And I know we all know that, but man, if I try not to dwell on it too much, but man, if I could go back and fix some of those moments in a more proactively, we would have had an even better time in that van all year,
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I'm trying to do now moving forward is be a bit more proactive about it and a little bit less selfish.
Yeah. But that's, again, you got so much time to be even a greater man than you are today. Mm. And to think that you're thinking about it already. I wasn't fucking thinking about that 29.
Fucking trying, man. Fucking trying.
Well, the greatest collection of spirits, I think I will say this. We were talking about Maison de Whiskey or La Maison in Vellier, right? I told Joanne, who was sitting in that chair just a few days ago, they're in rum and cognac and armagnac, right? That's their specifically European stuff. Mm-hmm. And I told them, I said, for what y'all put your fingerprints on, thumbprints, if you will, it's probably the best, with one other exception, in the world. So you make a thing and you put it out, I'm on board. And an even bigger group of amazing spirits is Fidencio Spirits. Let me do some of the marketing work.
Yeah, please do.
So Durumbes, which I first got exposed to many years ago with Sergio. I was super drunk, still interviewed him, and he's a fellow Aquarius as well. But anyway, so we were drinking Durumbes San Luis Potosí, I believe. And then I went to the headquarters where they bottled. And then La Higuera came out as Sotol was growing. And then Rancho Tapua, which we have a close relationship with here in Texas with Roberto Contreras Jr. And then there's the new tequila, which is Mikasa, right?
Mikasa, yeah.
Michoacan distilled, but agaves from Jalisco. Is that what I?
Other way around, yeah.
Okay.
It's the first like single state Michoacan tequila, so to speak, and it was distilled in Jalisco, and really beautiful family project as well.
Amazing, yeah, because they got in touch. Because one of the things is that again during shutdown that was a very nice byproduct of it is I held over 20, 30 tastings for free always, just so people could come taste the thing. And what it's done is built a very, very fortified and strong group of agave and mezcal people, which is the same thing again. And so then that's how we kind of met. That's how, I mean, I knew Arik before that, but it's a really, really good community. And I know like La Venenosa is still part of the fam, right? And then you've got this other Raicilla that we tried. What was that?
El Lobo de la Sierra. El Lobo also makes puntas for the La Venenosa label.
Oh, okay.
And so this is a little bit more of his family brand that he was able to start up because of the success of puntas. And he's about to come out with two more labels as well that we're really excited for.
So we're talking again because believe me, I'll ask you more questions. But I'm so excited about you and Arik and everybody that's involved. And so you got stuff from Jalisco, you got stuff from Oaxaca, Durango, San Luis Potosí, Tamaulipas. Sonora?
I think 11 states.
What the fuck?
I think maybe 9 states. Yeah, it's a vast portfolio. I'm so thankful that I get to work with it every day. It's amazing. Yeah. And and Arik has really done so much to build this, along with his partners in whatever realm you want to talk about them. Esteban's one, Sergio's the other. His founder, Amy, from back in the day when they started Fidencio Mezcal, which is what started everything off in the late 2000s. Of course. How can I? And now I get to work with these guys. Like, the hell happened to, what was the call?
What was the call like when they offered you the job?
Oh, yeah, man. It was, I'm pretty sure I cried a little.
Yeah.
Well, it was really amazing how it kind of came back around. So Arik was out, he was going out for this event in Oregon with my old boss, Jen, and the Strongwater Beverage team. And she had asked me to come out and be the photographers because I do some side photography stuff and I did some for her. So I was out there and I got to meet Arik and his wife, Courtney, and we really hit it off. And I've been traveling. And so like my mind was free of all of these work things. I was starting to think about it because it was becoming the end of the year. And so I was starting to apply to one thing here, one thing there. My heart wasn't really in it, but I was like, this would be a good job. Maybe this would work out. But we met, hit it off. We ended up having a day in Portland after the event. And we chatted about 2 weeks later. And I was actually back outside of Portland, Maine at that point. And he offered me what I wanted. And I didn't even think that I could get health benefits these days. And he was like, and health benefits, of course, right? And I was like, oh, yeah, that. I meant to say that, And it was just this groundbreaking moment that I just felt my whole world drop.
Yeah.
And Leslie was right there with me. She was like, holy crap. Because when I first met her, I was pouring her Tigre, like, you need to taste this,
Yeah.
And so, it's really challenging to describe these types of moments in words, as you know. But it was unbelievable. Just couldn't believe. I still can't believe it. I still can't believe I'm here doing this. And I'm so excited for the future to learn everything that I can from Arik and all these other folks, and to meet everybody that's making these beautiful expressions. Because I've met a handful of them, but there's so many that I want to meet and look forward to meeting. And the next several years and 10 years are going to be really exciting for us as Fidencio Spirits, like both personally and as a team. Because so Courtney, his wife, also joined the team.
I saw that
about a month or so after I did. So it went from Arik sporting his backpack around the U.S. to Arik and Courtney and Cameron sporting their roller bags around the U.S. I guess. But so it was
massive.
It was special, super special.
And I don't think a lot of people know. And I definitely want to talk about this bottling. I'll let you get in a second, but I don't think a lot of people know. I didn't see a press release or anything. But I know it's known knowledge that Origen Raiz is now part of being imported by Fidencio Spirits.
Yep, we signed with Origen Raiz back in January, so that was really exciting. This is a really this is a brand with a lot of purpose, and really wholesome purpose. What they want to do is kind of bring mezcal back to the home, back to the heart, back to what it means within their cultures and their traditions, and share it within that. And every step of the process that they're doing is with care and with love, rather with the idea of, we need to be better than that or do this better. It's about taking care of everything,
Mm-hmm.
and the result is something that feels really wholesome and that they're really proud of, and we're really proud to be working with them. And so, Assis Cortez, his dad Don Valle, Bildo and the Saravia family from Durango, the Don Carlos and his family from Northwest Durango,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna have 5 expressions altogether. I think 4 from Durango, and then a kind of a seasonal or yearly release from the Cortez Palenque out of Oaxaca from the Central
Nice.
Valleys. So the next one coming out will be an Araqueño. That's awesome.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, Origen Reyes, it's really, really exciting. I can't wait to get rolling on it.
There was something we talked about too when we were driving back from Blanco. You mentioned there was an agave that they'd never used before. That there's a special like tiger or something.
Oh,
Do you know what I'm talking
Puma.
about? Puma. Oh, there you
Puma.
go. Yeah, tell me about that a little bit.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to remember. So in that area, there's this. It's one. Assis said it's one of his favorite agaves that he's ever had. And it's a small agave that tends to hide kind of within the trees, and he's calling it Puma because you walk by it and you don't see it and it scratches you, and it's really, really exciting and really good. And so I think there's a batch down there, and it's in the works. We're working on getting the rest of the 5 main SKUs in right now, and then that's going to be probably one of the next projects. But they're experimenting down there. So 3 of the expressions come from Rancho Lo Ojo, outside of Durango City, and Assis's dad built that distillery, and it's on the Saravia's ranch.
Oh, cool.
And so it's a combination of family efforts there, and they're experimenting with what else they have available there. But everything is amazing. Everything's amazing.
I remember I used to collect basketball cards, baseball cards too, like in the early 90s, mid 90s too. And I've said this a couple times in the podcast. I remember when the Dream Team formed for the USA or the Olympics. I can't remember where they were. Lillehammer, some shit. I can't remember where they were held at. But you got Jordan, you got Patrick Ewing, like one white guy. I think it was Christian Laettner actually. But anyway, so you never realized they've tore it up and they won like everything because it was so much talent in one place. And that is what Arx has effectively done. Is he's created the portfolio of the strongest agave or Dacilirion, whatever the fuck, those spirits in like one place. No one's done it like that. And then
that guy has crushed it, man.
Yeah, and then and I won't mention it, the name of it he told me, but apparently there's another thing that he wants to do. Yeah, that he was telling me about. I'm like,
that's gonna be really exciting too. We'll tell you about it later.
Yeah, like, I was like, you're gonna do another thing?
Oh man.
See, this is why I think he and I get along so much. And he's so chill. But you've had some good time with him, it sounds like, since you got hired on.
Oh yeah, it was like instant brotherhood. Yeah. And at the same time, I look up to him so much, and there's so much to learn from him. And yeah, he's my boss, but also like I feel like we were friends from the get-go. Yeah. And Courtney as well. So it's funny you mentioned the Dream Team because our group text is called the Dream Team.
Is it really? Oh, see, I didn't even.
We get along impressively well, and I think that was part of the start of all this. Like I'm still shocked by how much trust he put in me from the beginning. It was kind of like, okay, you're hired on. We're gonna work together and do these like computer things for the first month. And here's your travel schedule. Go and get it. And it was like, have at it, brother. And
but here's, and I'll say this thing again. And this, I only do it because I love people. I love them. He saw what I see. He knew. It's like,
I guess so.
This is the guy. And that's why I called him or texted, whatever the fuck I did. But after spending that time with you, you did it. I mean, this is the guy. So it's been great getting to know you too. But I want to step into this Rancho Tapuo real quick.
Yeah, let's do that.
And because I really like Roberto and what he's doing out there. This was a pick that Leslie and I both did. Might get mad if I didn't. I'm sure we did. I'm sure we did. But it's a really beautiful spirit, and I'll tell you this: when I see this bottle on the shelf at like restaurants and shit,
yeah.
It feels pretty good because I'll give you one more specific. I did a tasting for some tech company. I did a mezcal tasting, and the guy who was a mate of mine, he had me in, scheduled me and everything, and he said, "Can we do the Rancho Tapuo pick?" I'm like, "Uh-huh."
Nice.
And so we're sitting there, These are people that know about mezcal, and I've taught a lot of classes for this particular startup, different categories, scotch and stuff. But they're all drinking the rancho tepuan, and it's a class like 30 people. And I'm like, guys, can we take a picture for Roberto? Because sometimes they don't know the impact of their work.
Yeah.
And that was one of those moments where I was proud of being able to be a connector.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Anyway, but this is from Sonora, which is a whole different style in terms of not production necessarily, but flavor. What's your take on this particular electric guia from Rancho Tepuan? Woo! Oh man, the nose is.
Well,
changed.
first, cheers, man.
Salud.
This has been fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. I love it, man. This nose.
I mean, it's just so beautiful and soft and elegant and well put together. I think I've tried. Beautiful pick, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried some of the older expressions from Roberto, and I've only met him virtually so far.
Mm-hmm.
Super nice guy, and really proud to represent his products because they're all really, really good. Something I like about him is he lived in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
and I think he has this progressive mentality of continuing to do the best he can and not stop where he's happy, but
right.
Knowing that he can continue to build upon what he's already built. And what I've tasted over from expressions from the last several years, this is one of the best. And it's like, well, it can't get much better than this, can it?
Right.
But we'll see what else he wants to do and what else he's feeling ambitious to put out. And knowing his day-to-day life, he's working with Desilirion, he's working with agaves, he's ranching every day.
Yep. And his dad's not as principally involved because he got kicked in the head by a horse. Right?
Yeah.
So and he's getting married.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, I think it's coming up here. Yeah.
This is a great example of the more you learn about somebody that's making these spirits, the better it tastes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a really good example.
It's cool, and sometimes, and I'll just keep drawing the same comparison, but sometimes because Ark knew with you, right? I tasted 6 samples from Roberto that Ark sent to me, but I knew that this was it, man. Sometimes the spirit just tells you, It's like, this is fucking brilliant.
Yeah, I was kind of excited to bring this one today because, we're tasting with the group that it's picked for, right? But I asked you, and you have about 25 people or so that are coming, probably 10 have had it.
Yeah,
so
if not less, which makes it even more exciting.
Yeah.
Honestly, because there's a community, and in some sense, because I've created so many brands over 10 years or whatever, and if people say the Texas Mezcal and Tequila Society equals quality, then then we're in a good place, and then you get people that will trust the group. Yeah. And they should, because we're doing things the right way.
And you started the group, right?
Yeah.
Well, again, when was that? Or you had a...
Leslie will also say, anyway, this is...
All right, you were one of the people that started.
Okay.
Great.
But yeah, so I started it.
Okay.
And this has been... this was before or just after we started doing mezcal classes in person.
Okay.
Which we did a bunch of those just to bring people in. Seldom charged people. Mostly would just ask brands and say here, But it's been at least for 3.5, 4 years. 3.5. Time's
okay.
Like fucking weird.
And there's quite a few folks in it now.
Yeah, we're approaching 2,000 people.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. It's really cool.
It's a cool thing, and I will throw someone out just like a fucking bouncer if they disrespect each other. That's the thing that's been really, really important. Because smoked agave can turn into, I've been called a colonizer on smoked agave and stuff. And I don't care if it's true or not, but this is not the way we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
So I'll shut it down. But anyway, so this pick is beautiful. Fully integrate, bring the people in. We picked it for y'all. Y'all get to try it. And I damn well guarantee you if there's any bottles left, which are just very few from my knowledge, they'll be gone this week,
Yeah.
So it's a great event. So, all right. I got 2 questions left for you because we're doing this amazing tasting tonight. We'd be doing it outside if we didn't all die at 100 degrees.
That's freaking hot.
But you like the education part of it? You're going to have this audience tonight that's interested, smart, and exactly the kind of folks that would love Fidencio Spirits, How do you enjoy that being on stage part of it?
I do, actually. And the first time I ever taught something was back in college. I think I was a junior. And the year before, I'd gotten into software programming for a while. A buddy got me into it, and I did like an internship, and I was pretty good at it. But then I went back to school, and environmental took back over, and I basically lost it all. But I was asked to come in and teach this class for my buddy like a year after I'd done all this stuff. And so I pretty much just regurgitated what I could remember from that internship that I had. And I had a 1-hour presentation, and I got to put it together, and I was like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but they enjoyed it. They had questions that I was able to answer, and it ended up being like a really rewarding experience for me. And I remember that moment because I left feeling a lot more like a lot more content and a lot happier than I really expected to be.
Yeah. Wow.
Like I was nervous, and I was like, I don't think I should be doing this. And I left very satisfied. So I kind of always knew that I enjoyed the teaching aspect. And now I absolutely love it. I really do, especially when it hits home, especially when it's right. And there's also this funny contradictory aspect of it to me that, you know, the more you learn you don't know type of thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And the more presentations I do and the deeper I get into all of this stuff, I start to get almost more nervous. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what I'm talking about, you know, which I know isn't true. But I think it's I enjoy that. I actually do enjoy that feeling because I know it means that I care and that I want to continue to dive deeper into it.
Right.
And become better at it, you know, so. But yeah, I really do. The education part, like that's the best part, I think besides sharing mezcal with friends, you know.
Yeah, but if you can do both, if somehow,
which usually I'm usually sharing a mezcal while I'm educating.
That's right. It's really like
a little bit,
dream gig.
Yeah.
I have this saying. I probably stole it. In all honesty, I just can't remember from who. It was a celebrity or writer or something. I stole it, but a guy. This is specifically towards like agave, pointing at agave, but. If you're the smartest person in the room, go find another room. That's my whole. I don't want to be that guy, and I try to never, unless needed, show people what I know, because it's not important.
Yeah,
this comes full circle. It's all about listening, right?
Right.
Because you learn more about listening than you ever will from talking. Yeah. All right. So my last question for you.
And on top of that, like I think. A really important thing for anybody teaching about brands is it's not about what you know. It's about knowing what you need to give your audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Play the hits.
Yeah, man. Yeah, play the hits. Go over their head if they want to, but otherwise keep it in their wheelhouse and make them go home happier and more knowledgeable than before.
You empower them.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. And after all these years of teaching, and I'll see students out telling other people about mezcal when they learned from me, or what I wouldn't, I was one of the impetus or impeti, whatever. And it's just like, okay, that's what it's about.
Yeah,
let people know what they want to know and see what they do with the knowledge. They can weaponize it if they want, or they can bring other people in, which is I think what we want from mezcal. All right, so the last question.
I do.
Did you already think of an answer? Did you already think of an answer?
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to trip you up. Then
I knew you were going to try to trip me up. I knew this whole thing was going to be tripped up at the end. Like, I knew that we were going to have this exact interaction.
Because we already talked about this. Okay.
All right.
Do you prefer music or do you prefer film?
Music.
Music, okay.
But I'm not that deep in that world.
But you enjoy it more.
Yeah, I do.
What about art and music? Whether that's words on the page or painting. What do you prefer?
Art.
Okay. Well, here we go. So, I don't care who it is. Could be your favorite. Any artist. Living or deceased.
Oh, man. I don't think I can name a single.
Really?
But... I'm sorry. Finish your question.
No, you already know what I think everybody knows what the questions are going to be. Yeah.
Well, okay. So in the back of my head, I was thinking, well, we're drinking art. We're like,
that's great.
So, so my answer would be.
What's the one you thought about? The answer you thought you were going to give me?
Okay, I want to give you that. Let's circle back around. Apparently I can't be tripped up, or I am tripped up. You tripped me up. You successfully tripped me up. Well done. My answer was going to be to a famous person, living or deceased, who I could sip a mezcal with.
Yeah, there you go.
Alexander Humboldt.
Tell me more. I don't know. I'm not familiar. I don't think.
So he.
Oh, okay. I remember. You told me about this
I told you about
reading,
this guy. Yeah, because, I never read very many books that aren't either within environmental engineering back in college or since then booze related.
Yeah.
It's always been like, hey, if I'm going to be spending the time to read, I need to be improving upon my knowledge base. It's going to help me in my interest that I'm pursuing as a career, right? But a lot of that changed over the last couple of years when we had more time for COVID, and especially when I was living in the van. It was like, great, I'm going to read as many non-industry related books as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's Alexander Humboldt's book, Something About Nature. But anyway, this guy has more things named after him in the world than anybody else. He was basically like an Eastern European scientist, I think in the like early to mid 1800s, if not a little bit earlier than that. And a lot of his work influenced people like Darwin and stuff like that. And there's things like there's an Alexander Humboldt National Forest in like Arizona, and he's never even stepped foot in Arizona. Stuff like that. So he's the one that created the concept of, as you go up a mountain, the climate changes in the same way that it changes when you go north in latitude.
Oh shit!
Right?
So forward versus up. Wow.
Yeah. So that concept of you can explore the same diversity in climates and microclimates would be the way as you go up a mountain, rather than having to travel thousands of miles from the southern part of North America to the northern part of North America. He's the one that really coined that term and developed that idea and stuff like that. Wow. So, and it's been a couple of years since I've read his book at this point, and he probably has more books, but he was one of the most influential people that people don't talk about.
Yeah.
In the science world.
Yeah.
And I found everything he did absolutely fascinating. And he was also like pretty sure, he never left the closet, it's like he never had a wife. He had a lot of speculative lovers, but nobody really knew. He went back and forth between like his Prussian royalty situation and Paris a whole lot.
Wow. And
he lived this really fascinating life and wrote some really great books and stuff. So yeah, I think it would be really great to hang out with that guy for an afternoon.
Yeah. Wow. He sounds fascinating.
It's a really fascinating story.
So yeah, I need to start taking more notes because people are telling me these amazing people I'm not familiar with. I don't follow up on it, but I should.
I think I texted you that link.
You did? Yeah. I've got it. So I just need to do that for me.
There's your note, Mike G.
Yeah, there you go.
Back Thanks. In your text.
Thanks, Cameron. Thanks a lot. So it's gonna be a good night, man.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I can feel, the crowds. They're not here yet, but the crowd's gonna be warming up and all this. I think it's gonna be a really connective evening for all of us. And your mom made enchiladas, that's amazing.
I'm so excited. Yeah, so my mom and my stepdad, they're coming, and she makes the best stacked green chicken enchiladas of anybody in this world.
Yeah.
And so she made some for us, and they're going in the oven here in a minute.
Yeah, right. 350 if I recall.
350 for 30-40 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. Actually, that's perfect.
It's perfect.
Perfect timing. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's going to be I'm really excited to have them here because, they haven't really gotten to see me work a whole lot. Behind the bar a few times and stuff like that in random spots, but it means a lot that they want to be here. And my stepdad, he loves mezcal.
Oh, that's great.
Everything,
Well, we have a good evening in store for him as well. Then
we really do.
I think everybody's gonna love it, man. Finally, we made this happen.
This is great, man.
I admire you greatly. Thank you for taking the time out. And the evening is just beginning, Cameron.
I feel really honored that we've become friends, and I thank you so much to welcome us into your home.
Yeah,
and
love it.
You're a good one, man.
Yeah,
I'm
on occasion. Today might be one of those.
Every occasion I've met you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. It's good chatting. Talk soon, yeah?
Yeah, talk soon. Cheers, brother.
Well, there we have it. Cameron Holck of Fidencio Spirits. Well-traveled, well-drunk, I guess you could say. And all of these beautiful spirits in the Fidencio Spirits portfolio. Kind of like some of the best stuff in the game. I consider PM Spirits some of the best in the game for more rums and French spirits and stuff. They got some great agave too, but Arik and Cameron over there at Fidencio, no one does it bigger, no one does it better. And such a great team of folks, a great deal of makers with such pride and such skill. It's been just a massive pleasure to get to know those folks over there. And if you haven't tried, Ranch with the Pua or the room-based stuff, I mean, man, there's so much great stuff to try from that portfolio. And I hope you guys feel more connected to Cameron, It's cool. I was thinking about this the other week. I was talking to my friend. There are a lot of people that I was their first interview, and it doesn't seem like a thing that's maybe important. It's just kind of something in passing. But honestly, it's been cool to be the first person that gets to introduce, in a way, some of these folks, like media-wise, and see their careers kind of take off. And it's really, it's a cool experience, and it makes me feel like a guidance counselor, kind of. I'm not really sure what that's about, but thanks, everybody, for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter how close you are to nailing your third fragrance, and I'm very, very close, or if you're thinking, I need to watch Prey tonight, everybody keeps saying it's a good Predator movie, please keep dancing.